Oh, all right. Yes. Okay. Yes. We will start at 6:30, sir. Our moderator is there. Sunil will introduce you. Then after you can start. Okay. Sir. Yes. Yes. So we can start now, sir. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, good evening to all guests, students, teachers, and learners. With great joy and immense pleasure, I welcome you all. I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all present here for the Saturday intellectual meet on the periphery is expanding, relocating gender identity and gender equality in terms of transgender literature, organized by the Indian Society for Promotion of English Language and Literature, Chhattisgarh Forum. I welcome today's chief speaker, Dr. Anil Manji, chairperson Dr. Kishori Patel, and moderator for the evening, Sunil Kumar. For further proceedings of the program, I would like to invite Sunil Kumar. He is a research scholar of English in Government Digvijay Autonomous PG College, Rajnatgaon, Chhattisgarh, and also a member of ISPEL Chhattisgarh Forum. Sunil, please proceed further. Yes, you are audible. Please proceed. Yes.
And the credit goes to Mr. John Monnet, who is the psychologist and sexologist, who proposed that the concept of gender role is to signify all those things that a person says or does to disclose himself or herself as having the status of a man, of a boy or a man, girl or woman, respectively. Now, there might be a question arising in your mind that I am speaking about only boy or man, girl or woman, because we are talking about gender. Further, when we talk about the transgender aspect, we have psychoanalyst Robert Stoller. He further extended the distinction between biological sex and social gender. So, as we have gone through the definitions of sex, which relates to the anatomical structure, and social gender, what one feels, there is a distinction between the two. It was emphasized by Robert Stoller. What he said is, he challenged Freud and belief. I'm talking about Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud believed in biological bisexuality, but Robert Stoller was totally against it. And Robert Stoller talked about diversity in homosexuality. Further, Stoller tried to explain the phenomena of transsexuality by separating these two words, sex and gender. Further, in order to understand again transgender, you need to understand what is gender identity. Each person's internal and individual experience of gender relates to gender identity. A person's sense of being a woman, a man, both, neither, or anywhere along the gender spectrum that relates to gender identity. And further, a person's gender identity may be the same as or different from their birth assigned sex. Let me clear it to you. You can see a gender spectrum on the right hand side, here we find when we talk about sex, we have male on the left hand side and female on the right hand side. In between these two are intersex, and there can be variation from male to female in between these two. Then we have gender identity. When we talk about gender identity, basically we know about two gender, that is man or boy and woman or girl. And in between these two, there exists transgender or genderqueer or two-spirited, etc. Now, the another aspect which we need to understand is gender expression. So when we talk about gender expression, as the word goes, to express one's gender, how a person publicly express or presents their gender, it means gender expression. It can include behavior and outward appearance such as dress, hair, makeup, body language and voice, etc. The outer features of a human being, the way they act, the way they behave, it totally relates to their gender expression. Suppose we believe that a man should look tough, a woman should look fragile or gentle. And when we talk about transgender, we find that they transgress from masculine to feminine behavior. They consist of both, kind of. They love the feminine attires, they love to put on makeups, but at sometimes they exhibit masculine behavior also. Like they do not fear in confronting any person sometimes, and their body structure is that way that it is more uh, hard and tough, just rough and tough, just like men do. Then a person's chosen name and pronoun are also common ways of expressing gender. To your surprise, as I have already mentioned that in order to understand or what made me realize what is gender expression, recently, day before yesterday, I was taking class of noun pronoun agreement. Actually, it is in grammar. So when I was teaching them, I had an activity like you have to narrate a story. I told the students that you have to narrate a story so that I could pick up the pronouns and explain them what is the importance of that pronoun. So I asked a student to you start the story. I asked the student and just pick up a name and start the story. So that student started very differently. He told there was a boy named Lakshmi. His father was detective, and his mother, they couldn't find their mother. Her mother was um, unknown. Means she where is she? They didn't know. So as soon as he used the word Lakshmi, a boy named Lakshmi, certain kind of amazement arised on the face of students. So I too was surprised. I asked him, why did you use the word name Lakshmi? Then he told, sir, it is just a name. Why does it matter? So I just felt it. Really, if I am thinking the name Lakshmi is suitable to a female and the other students are amazed at it, what about the society? So this just not stopped here. Actually, then I thought about let the story move on. Then he narrated the story, the other student narrated the story, and it went on. So in between this, a practical problem arose. It was, as the name was Lakshmi, the student did the mistake of using the pronoun her. It repeated. They were supposed to use his because he was a boy. Lakshmi was a boy. But that problem kept on occurring and occurring and occurring. So it made me realize really this gender thing is a social construct. Even in syllabus of our English, in grammar, in pronoun, we are having this, and it is being such embedded that it is creating problem in this way. So that's why I realized that this topic is very important to put up. We need to talk on it. We need to discuss on it. And another aspect which I'm trying to share over here is when we tried to conclude, I pointed out their mistake that he's a boy, Lakshmi is a boy, and you're making the mistakes. So I just thought about asking them, suppose I use her for you. I asked a boy, suppose I use her for you, and I suppose he for that girl. Will it be a problem? Would you be minding about it? Then they were like hesitating. So I just realized it that a pronoun, a pronoun plays a very important role in the social construct that people do not want to be addressed with the pronoun of the other gender. So when this is the condition of a male and female, then what is the condition of a transgender? Then again I explained them about the gender thing that this is gender and we are so much we are in a modern world where people are not excluding these people now. These things are not um, very much important. So would you mind if someone use an opposite pronoun for you? After making them sensitized about all these things, some of the students they were like, it's okay sir, we won't mind, we will think that it might be by mistake or it doesn't matters to me, the intention of the person matters to me. So in real life in classroom itself I felt the gender thing. So what about the society, the real life in which we live, what about that? So this is the reason I felt that this topic is really important and I have to put up this before intellectuals and before other people so that it may be a step of sensitization. So coming back to the topic of gender expression, a person chooses name and pronoun. They are common ways of expressing gender. It is a general notion in our society. Like he, she, they. This is the most important aspect. It is directly relating to the identity. I hope so. With this example, the gender expression is being clear to all people. Further, if we proceed, we these attributes, the dress, the hair, the makeup, the body language and voice, the name, the pronoun which is being used, all these express one's gender. People perceive one through these attributes, whether that person is of masculine or feminine or transgender. Further, a person's gender identity is fundamentally different from and not related to their sexual orientation. Now, another word comes in front of you. So many words indeed. Sexual orientation. Let me make it clear to you. When we talk about sexual orientation, we are talking about our physical, spiritual, and emotional attraction to the people.
शूज निकालने
It
पहले
indulges sexual activities. So, gender is different, gender identity is different, gender expression is different, sexual orientation is different. And another new concept which is emerging today is of gender non-conforming. Some individuals they do not want to follow the gender stereotypes, male, female, or transgender, and they do not even want to identify as transgender, as I have said. So this is a very new concept. It doesn't matter to them, so they are considered as gender non-conforming. Okay, in order to make you more clear about it, I have a gender-bred person. Okay, so you can see that diagrammatically what I was talking about. If we talk about sex or biological sex, they are the sexual organs, hormones, and chromosomes in which uh, it is being categorized as male, female, and intersex. When we talk about gender identity, how do you call yourself? So, like, let's say you're a man, you're a woman, in this way. Then we talk about expression. You can see it has been mentioned from the outer attributes. How do you demonstrate your gender? Okay, so it can be masculine or feminine or androgynous, as clearly visible from this diagram where the shoes and the sandals, it has been mentioned. The person will be truly considered as of feminine nature. A person wearing this in general would be considered as masculine. So in between these two became androgynous. And when we talk about the sexual orientation, as it has been represented with the help of heart, it is a physical, spiritual, and emotional attraction. And in this ambit comes heterosexual, the orientation towards the opposite sex, bisexual, orientation towards both the sexes, male and female, and homosexual, the orientation towards the same sex, and it can be lesbian, gay. So, after understanding these terminologies, we would be able to understand who is the transgender. Transgender is an umbrella term for persons whose gender identity, gender expression, or behavior does not conform to that typically associated with the sex to which
हाँ
they were
लाइव भी हो
assigned
गया
at
है।
birth. For example, let
शुरू
me
में आवाज नहीं आ
clarify
रही
it to
थी।
you.
अच्छा फिर
A
फिर मैं
person
फिर
is
से
born
लेफ्ट
as a
करके फिर
male,
से क्यों आया।
but during the age of puberty, he feels attraction toward the other boys, and his inner self feels as if he's a
हथौड़ी
girl,
उथौड़ी था वो कहाँ गया है?
not a boy.
क्या चीज?
So he starts acting in a feminine way. He starts liking boys.
इसको लेके
He
आना
feels that being boy
चल
does not justify his life.
हम वो खाएंगे ना
So his gender identity, his gender expression and behavior are not matching
चलो
with the sex which was assigned to his birth, assigned at birth.
चलो ना बताता हूँ
So that person will be kept under the umbrella of transgender. What we mean by using this term umbrella means that apart from the two watertight compartments of male and female, whatever other gender identities are there, gender variations are there, they are being placed under the umbrella of transgender. Further, if we legally talk about it, as per the section 2K of the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, transgender person means a person whose gender does not match with the gender assigned to them at birth. And it includes trans men or trans women, whether or not such person has undergone sex reassignment surgery or hormone therapy or laser therapy or such other therapy. It also includes persons with intersex variation and genderqueer and person having such sociocultural identities such as Skinner, Hijra, Aravani, and Gupta. Now, there are certain new terminologies used over here. Okay, so let me clarify it to you. Like with the definition, there are two things visible over here. Okay, so one is a person whose gender does not match with the gender assigned to that person at birth. It does not connotates to the biological thing, it connotates to the psychological thing or one's perception of oneself. So you can consider transgender means two kind of people. One, those who feel that although they are male or female, but they should be the other gender. They should be the other person. If one is male, he or she feels that his inner self is female, whereas he or she has the perfect sexual organs. The another thing is what we talk about, the biological thing, intersex, whose sexual organs are deformed or they are not grown well, or both the things are uh, grown at that particular place. So that kind of situation also arises because of the chromosomal and genetic effects. So these people have been included in it. And we have certain three terminologies, that is sex reassignment surgery, hormone therapy, and laser therapy, or such other therapy. When we talk about sex reassignment surgery, the transgender people who want to live their life to their true self, they get operated and they get the organs of female or male to whatever life they want to live. And for this, they require certain hormones and laser therapies and other therapies. But it does not mean that a person will be called as transgender only when that person has gone under SRS, that is sex reassignment surgery, or hormone therapy or laser therapy. The government has included persons who feel that they are of opposite gender, who are of intersex situation, who are gender queer, they do not know which gender to adhere, or persons belonging to socio-cultural identities such as Kinnar, Hijra, Arami, and Jaffa. So I hope so. This definition makes what in the name of law or in the eyes of law a transgender person is. As we are talking about gender equality over here, we all very well know that gender equality is the state in which access to rights or opportunities is unaffected by gender. When we talk about the rights or opportunities, these rights we relate to Constitution of our India, or the rights provided by certain acts which are being framed out of Constitution, getting power from the Constitution, and opportunities of various kinds. So gender equality is the state in which these rights, these opportunities are available to each and every person, irrespective of their gender. And when does gender inequality exist? When there is a discrimination based on gender. When people are stopped from availing these rights just because on the basis of their different gender. So, because of this gender inequality, we very well know that men are also affected, women are also affected, transgender are also affected, gender diverse people are also affected. When I talk about female, I directly quote the feminism movement, feminist movement, the gender inequality occurring between the two sexes, male and female. But in this ambit, now transgender has also entered. So since long time, we only knew about, when we talk about gender equality, we talk about the inequality because of the hierarchy existing in the society. The victims are women. But I have found out that because the women's are victim and the transgender people somewhat are more uh, oriented towards feminine expression, mostly what we call as trans women. So they are also affected because of this patriarchy thing in the society. So it is a double jeopardy for the transgender people. Like, on the basis of their gender diversity, they are not fit in the two watertight compartments. Plus, the the blows of patriarchy which the females are facing, and because of that, the transgenders are also facing because of their feminine nature. Okay, let's move on to transgender literature. Let's have a look over it. Transgender literature is a collective term used to designate the literary productions that addresses has been written by people of diverse gender identity. Let me mark these three important aspects. The literary production that addresses, if a literary article or a literary product, if it addresses the people of diverse gender identity, it will relate to transgender literature. If it is written by transgender people, then also it will be considered as transgender literature. And if it portrays people of diverse gender identity, it will be correlated with transgender related literature. So what I mean over here is addressing people of diverse gender written by transgender people and portraying the life of people with diverse gender identity. These three important aspects will be clubbed in the circle of transgender literature. And we have best examples in our English literature. The book Metamorphosis by the Roman poet Ovid, where we find that Isis changing the sex of Iphis. This is a very good example. And when we talk about 20th century literature, the novel Orlando Notable, which has been written by Virginia Woolf, in which one of the it is being considered one of the first transgender novels in English, and the plot follows a bisexual poet that changes gender from male to female and lives for hundred of years. So these things already exist. Means the idea of transgender already exists in English literature. Okay. Uh, as I have taken this topic as relocating gender equality, gender identity, what I mean is when we look into the historical aspect of India, specifically ancient India, in our holy books, epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other Puranas, we have different set examples like the concept of Ardhanarishwara, the character of Shikhandi in Mahabharata, Mohini Avatara of Lord Krishna. There are many instances when Lord Krishna had transformed into Mohini. The very first I remember is during the Samudra Manthan. In order to safeguard the Devtas, he took Mohini Avatara and brought the Amrit back. That was the scene. And there is one more instance when Ravan, during the war of uh, Kurukshetra in Mahabharata, a sacrifice has to be made to goddess Kali so that the Pandavas could win. So Ravana decided to give his sacrifice, but he had a wish. So Lord Krishna fulfilled his wish. Ravana said that I want to get married for at least one day. So Lord Krishna transformed into Mohini. He got married to Ravana, and the other day he sacrificed. So you can remember in the earlier slide, I told there is a happiest moment when transgenders, those are the marginalized section of the society, because they do not have reproductive organs, they are not considered as feminine, and they could not marry other person because they are being excluded. They are being seen through the eyes of discrimination. That is the day when they enjoy, when they are happy getting married to Lord Aravana, because it has been mentioned that Lord Krishna has transformed into Mohini and got married. But on the other day, they repent, they weep on the death of Ravana. So this is how uh, the Mohini Avatara of Lord Krishna shows the transformation of male into female. And we all very well know when there was Agyatwas of 1 year of Pandavas, they had to live in a very hideous manner. No one should know about it. Arjuna transformed into Brihanalla, uh, who used to teach dancing and other things. So these are certain examples of ancient India. So the question arises when we know about all these things, we have Ardhanarishwara, whom we worship. We have the character of Shikhandi. We know about Mohini Avtara. We know about Brihanalla. Somewhere we are not that much sensitive to this transgender thing or people of diverse gender identity. We should not be in true self. But why we became this? Okay, let's proceed. In Mughal period, to your surprise, I'd like to put forth that it was a golden period for transgender. There are several mentions that transgenders were the most trusted royal servants. Transgenders were appointed as custodians of harem, and some even rose to the rank of army generals, royal teachers, and court advisors. Even in the story of Akbar, you will find mention of this eunuchs in the form of eunuchs. Those were so trustworthy that good ranks were given to them and they were holding good positions. So, in totality, if we are ancient period and Mughal period, the situation is very clear to us that everything is all right. They are living a happy life or they are living a dignified life, actually. But what happened that we are seeing these transgender people with the point of view of discrimination or of sense of untouchability towards them. Let me make it clear before you. To your surprise, it was the British colonial law or British colonial era, which is the reason behind the devastated condition and status of transgender. As you all very well know that India was colonized under Britishers and we were ruled under their laws. Actually, it was the intervention of Britishers that they brought the law system from Britain to India. So, because of this law system, they deprived eunuchs of their primary source of income and any kind of rights. It pushed them further into poverty and social exclusion. So, when I talk about they deprived them of their primary source of income, the eunuchs or these transgender people used to do singing and dancing. As we can correlate with the word kinnar, this kinnar relates to kinnar devta, who is master in singing and dancing. So there is a correlation between them. Now the question arises: which law, which made them, which made their condition so devastated? It was the Criminal Tribes Act 1871. It created the category of eunuch. See, when we talk about gender is a social construct or gender is doing, you might have gone through these concepts when we talk about feminism or when we talk about on the concept of gender. Here, a category is being created through law, through act. A category of eunuch was created, and it included hijras, khwaja siras, and kotis. And it gave the power to arrest without warrant. Okay, and whom they used to arrest? They used to arrest eunuchs who dress like a female, danced or played music, or took part in public exhibition. Can you imagine? Just for dressing up like a female or just dancing or playing music in the public, you might get arrested. This was the situation what happened after 1871. And further, again, the Indian Penal Code, the IPC of 1860, which was made by the Britishers, its section 377 made provision for punishment of voluntary having carnal intercourse against the order of nature of 10 years of imprisonment and fine. And to our record, between 2014 and 16, there were 4,690 cases of persons being booked under Section 377. Now, there might be a question arising in your mind. How this Section 377 is bringing these transgender under the ambit of this section? Actually, as I have told you earlier, suppose a boy who has a feeling of girls, he feels that he is a girl within. He wants to live a life of girl. Definitely will get attracted towards boy. So when he gets attracted towards boy, his inner feeling is of girl. Definitely it will come under the ambit of section 377. So because of these two reasons, because of these two reasons, the transgender people became criminals. As the title of the act goes, Criminal Tribes Act. So these social construct has been established since 1871 in the name of law. If something is crime, since 1871, definitely it has made the foundation of seeing the transgender in the bad shades. So this was the finding which surprised me. I always used to ponder over it. Why people get fear of these people? Why they are being ridiculed, the transgender people? It doesn't happen one day or 2 day, within 1 or 2 day. There might be some reason because people hate them. So when I explored, when I did a research, I found that this was doing of the Britishers, that they made a law and we are supposed to abide by the law. So whatever thing is bad in the name of the law, they are criminals. So this notion, although this act was later on, uh, you know, removed, it was uh, made ineffective. But the notion which has uh, found its ground in the minds of the people, it was not at all very easy to remove that. So I hope so you might have understood the basic reason why they are being treated as criminals. So after understanding why they are being treated as criminals and understanding what is transgender literature, we are going to quote or we are going to take name of certain transgender writers. We have one specific classification which we talked about, like the literary article or literary production done by the transgender writers. I have emphasized on transgender writers and specifically on A. Revati because in this very short time, it's very difficult to take a taboo topic and explain it to everyone. So I decided I will go take a bigger circle, then I will take a smaller circle, then I will take a smaller circle, so that we can get to the point. So this is my approach. Out of that three aspects, I am taking one of the aspect, that is the writings which has been done by the Indian transgenders. And these three personalities are quite famous. They are themselves are transgender and they have written autobiographic. So A. Revati, Dr. Manobi Bandyopadhyay, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. So let's see one by one who they are and what they have written and what is their contribution, and how in this way transgender literature is establishing gender equality and gender identity. When we talk about A. Revati, she is a writer, actor, and activist. She is based in Bangalore. She works with Sangama, which is a sexual minorities human rights organization for individuals oppressed due to their sexual preference. So she has been fighting for the rights of the people who are being oppressed because of their different sexual orientations or different sexual preferences. And she is the author of Unarvum Uruvamam, that is Our Lives, Our Words. It was published in the year 2004. I would like to make a point. Please note the year of publications because they are the connecting link, what I'm trying to explain over here. Then we have her autobiography, that is the Truth About Me, a Hijra life story, which was published in 2010. Actually, it is the first of its kind in English from a member of Hijra community. Eventually, it was published in Tamil later on in 2011 as Vellai Mosi. Now we can find over here is like she wrote in English and it was translated in Tamil. And here comes the importance of translation studies because she did not write just for the sake of her, getting famous or something. She wanted to convey how a transgender feels, what kind of life one lives. She wanted to sensitize people. So that's why she took up this task and she published it in Tamil also so that the local people, regional people would also understand actually who transgender is. And three books are being credited to her. The very first one is The Truth About Me, a Hijra life story, which was published in 2010. Then we have Our Lives, Our Words, which was published in 2012. And finally, Revati, A Life in Trans Activism, which was published in 2016. So here I am again marking 2010 publication, 2012 publication. These two works first. And we have another transgender author as well as social activist. She is being credited to be the person who established Kinnar Akhada at Prayagraj Kumbh. And basically, she was the first transgender person to represent Asia Pacific in the United Nations in 2008. And she holds the position of Mahamandaleshwar of Kinnar Akhada. So, holding such a prestigious post, she was one of the person who filed a petition for transgender rights. Her hard work paid off, and she also contributed in the field of literature as she wrote Me Hijra Me Lakshmi, which is also available in Hindi as My Hijra My Lakshmi. And second book is Red Lipstick, The Man in My Life. Further, we have Dr. Manabi Bandyopadhyay. She was born as Somnath. She was the first transgender person in India who has completed Doctor of Philosophy. And right now she is associate professor in Bengali at Vivekanand Satobakshiki Mahavidyalaya. And India's first openly transgender college principal, Krishnanagar Women's College in Nadia district, West Bengal. So you will find that educated transgenders have contributed a lot. So role of education plays a very important role. Let's see what she wrote. She wrote A Gift of Goddess Lakshmi. And it is indeed a candid biography of India's first transgender principal. So it is a kind of encouragement for the other transgenders that although the society is going to hinder you, although the society is going to discriminate you, although the society is not going to consider you as a normal, but it doesn't matter. If you have the inspiration, aspiration, you can definitely achieve what you want to become. So, as we have gone through certain examples of transgender writers and some of their uh, works, let's see how this transgender literature explains society or play a very important role in establishing their gender equality and gender identity. When I talk about gender identity, I correlate it in this particular manner. Why do we fear something? We fear something when we do not know anything about that person or that thing is unknown. Why we fear darkness? For example, if I quote, we do not know what exists in that darkness. Similar goes with the notion of the transgender. People have a fear because they do not know about transgender, who that person is, or what can that person do. So this transgender literature, they actually make people aware what kind of persons they are, what kind of human beings they are, what kind of conditions they are living, so that the society people can get acquainted with them. They know them, so that the gender identity which they are longing for since long, they could achieve that. They could not. They should. They couldn't be discriminated based on this thing. So these transgender literature, they act as a mouthpiece of pain, in my opinion. They have lived on the fringes of society. They are being marginalized. They exist at the margin. This is just like the society has driven a Lakshman Rekha for them. They should not cross this. This area is for men and women, not for transgender. So even today, we find transgender people begging at traffic lights, live in poor areas, indulge in petty crimes to survive, and experience multiple form of violence from society at large, as well as from the state. When we mention from the state, we specifically talk about the harassment, police harassment which they face, because it is being legitimate in the eyes of the law and social tolerance. Suppose I can explain it with a good example. When went into the field to understand who the transgender people are, I met with certain transgenders. So one of the primary problems in which they put forth is, first of all, as people see them as criminals, so they are the easy targets for the policeman. Now, if a policeman is going to arrest on certain basis a transgender, in which cell they are going to put them, where whether they are going to put them in the cell of men or whether they are going to put them in the cell of women. This is a very important question. So here the problem arises. Here the pain is being visible. Which place they hold? This question arises over here. For example, here I have taken a citation. It is from A Life in Trans Activism by A. Revati. She notes that she indeed expresses her pain. She says, we are harassed by parents, teachers, peers, and the police. The media and law only highlight our involvement in the street based on sex work and begging. Why don't you highlight some of our pressing needs and concerns and the multiple violations and oppressions we experience? As you can feel the pain, that only the point, only the notion that if a transgender is existing, it would definitely be involved in the sex work and begging. This is the common notion of the people. So she has depicted this pain in her book, A Life in Trans Activism. So reading this, people get acquainted with the pain, with the conditions, with the situations they are going through. And somewhere try, they start correlating. I put forth transgender literature as an antidote. Actually, when we talk about their existence in the society, the existence of the transgenders, they face widespread discrimination, as we have seen over here. They face violation of human rights on daily basis. This is quite a common thing for them. It is not like it will occur today and it will not occur tomorrow, kind of. And specifically in the medical community, they are being quoted under the terminology of gender identity disorder. Further, another terminology exists, that is of gender dysphoria, which means that they are afflicted with the discomfort with their bodies. Discomfort with the body means a person is having a body of male and he wants to live the life of female. So is not happy with her body. So this is termed under gender dysphoria. This discomfort with non-alignment of the inner feelings what a person is having and the body, particularly of one sex, they are not aligning. They are not aligning with each other. So the discomfort created with this is quoted under gender dysphoria, and they specifically face questions of class, caste, race, gender, and patriarchy. So I believe this transgender literature they act as antidote to all forms of discrimination. Somewhere it relates to the theory of purgation. When we confront our fears, as I remember, I was taught by ma'am when these theories were there in drama. We see gothic scenes and we correlate with those gothic scenes. Our own fear we confront, and when we get relieved of it. So believe when they write it, they again confront it and they get it acts as an antidote for them. It is a kind of therapy for them. So transgender literature acts as an antidote for these people, as the other people who do not dare to reveal themselves as transgender or of gender variation, of different gender variation. Further, as I told you that getting to know a person makes you familiar with that person, as well as a kind of hesitation gets decreased, and meanwhile in due time it gets disappear. So when we go through this transgender literature, we find that there are experiences of constant harassment, the looks of disapproval, the fear of being in public spaces, the fear of not returning home alive. Yeah, this is quite true. When I asked one of the transgender subject, uh, she told that we live in a situation of fear. Suppose we are late to come to our home, we do not know which person or which uh, man or whosoever person is, out of their anger, out of their uh, transphobia, I should say, they might kill them. It generally happens. It's not a new thing in Delhi and all, where people just shoot them or they do the acid attack things also on them. So in this transgender literature, they also express the fear of using the public toilet. We have only toilets of male and female. We do not have a transgender toilet. So again, we have the fear of going to school because that is the stage, that is the time of puberty when they find that their feelings are different, they act in a different manner. So people tease them, people bully them, people do some uh, sort of violences with them, they harass. It can be to the extent of sexual harassment also, because in general they are attracted physically towards the same sex kind of thing. And further, the fear of being arrested, because if a person transgender will keep on emphasizing that they are not guilty or they are not criminals, then also a tag is there on them. So Revati quotes that she strongly emphasizes fear of everything and anything. Means fear at all levels exists for them, and anything can be fearful for them. They never know. Now, I put it the transgender literature as handbooks. Autobiographies by transgender women, such as A. Revati, and we have another person, Living Smile with Vidya. When we go through their autobiographies, we find that there are notions of complexities of caste, gender, and sexuality. Okay, and their autobiographies they act as a compilation of the history and culture of Hijras, and further they express their opposition to the evils of stigmatization, discrimination, marginalization, pathologization, confinement. operating at the level of social perception, social space, social institutions, common sense, judicial system, family, state, and medical system. This I'm quoting, taking concept of Michel Foucault, which she had told about gender. So these transgender people, they are victims of all these aspects. Further, these autobiographies raise public awareness. In one word, we can call it as stigma, sensitization. These autobiographies sensitize people about gender and sexuality, and it is also an instrument to propagate their claim for human rights, democracy, and equality in Indian society. Actually, it is also a mouthpiece for in order to claim for their human rights, the rights of democracy, the right for a perfect life. These autobiographies act as a best medium. Further, experience or this notion of denaturalizing the gender, then what is to be a man and what it is to be a woman, it doesn't matter. The it is incomparable as compared to the trans experience. No experience of gender is so strong. I would like to quote, no experience of gender is so strong in the sense of denaturalizing what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman than the trans experience. Okay, this is another concept which went through, and I was quite surprised. Uh, this I had studied in one of the MOOC courses about intersectionality, and in true sense, I understood and I fitted it over the transgender people. Actually, these autobiographies written by transgenders, which we are quoting as transgender literature, through these autobiographies, they deploy agency in a variety of ways by showing how their lives are located at the intersection of caste, class, and patriarchies. Okay, let me clarify when we talk about intersectionality. Actually, you can see a diagram over here. It is a framework of conceptualizing a person, a group of people, or social problem as affected by several discrimination and disadvantages. So when we talk about transgender people, you can place them in the center as individual identity, and because of their sexual orientation, because of their gender expression, different gender expression, I should say, because of their non binary adherence to gender, because of their way of talking to people, because of their notions, because of the discrimination which they face. All these factors, all these factors create an intersection. And in the center lie the transgender people. So, in other words, the intersectional theory asserts that people are often disadvantaged by multiple sources of oppression: their race, their class, their gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, and other identity markers. Based on all these aspects, when a person is being put on oppression, that is the center of intersection. And the transgender people exactly fit in this theory. They are the victims of intersection. So, when we read these transgender autobiographies or the transgender literature, I believe it is my notion that to just read the transgender people talk, uh, I would like to draw your attention to just read the transgender people talk about their trajectory is to give visibility to their struggle. When one reads, one goes through this transgender literature, they understand what kind of struggle they are going through, what kind of life they are going through. They are also human beings just like we people are. So there is a sense of connection between the reader and the author. So these transgender literatures are the connecting link between an individual who is of gender variance to the common people, to the people who are supposed to be the normal members of the society. So these transgender literatures are the connecting links. They are diluting the boundaries. They are diluting the margins which the society has created for transgender. So transgenders are writing autobiographies. There is a increase in the context of India that the transgender people are writing more and more autobiographies, and they are establishing themselves in the literary space that no doubt has been predominantly black and white. So when I say that literary space exists in black and white is when I attended my very first class, I remember ma'am had quoted that literature is a mirror of society. Actually, that was the moment I felt really I never thought about it. What important role literature plays. It puts as it is what is happening in the society. It accepts people as it is without creating any discrimination. It includes all. The paper is white, and we consider the ink as black or the printed words as black. It does not discriminate anyone based on the whiteness or blackness. So this line indeed touched me. And I understood why transgender people are creating transgender literatures, writing autobiographies, because this is the platform, this is the medium through which they can establish their rights. They can talk to the people. They cannot talk to each and everyone one by one on one, face to face, but they can talk to intellectual people. Indeed, I should say, because a learned person is going to read this kind of books. And when an intellectual or learned person is going to read their autobiographies, all the literature related to transgender or the transgender literatures, definitely that person is going to get sensitized. And this sensitization is going to reach other people who are connected with that person. Because an intellectual person cannot just take the knowledge to oneself. He or she will definitely propagate it to the other persons. This is the nature of a learned person, educated person. They stick to the right thing. So, my opinion, these autobiographies, they are getting an encouragement because this is the ground, this is the platform where transgenders are finding their own self. They are finding an opportunity to express themselves. Okay. Now, as I had uh, quoted before you all people, that it is as a mouthpiece of pain. Yeah, sure. Okay, I will wind up in 2 minutes. Just in 2 minutes. Uh, Actually, I was waiting for your signal, ma'am, and indeed, I had told you earlier. Okay, okay, sure, ma'am. So this is the final say which I have in this, and I will move very fastly in further notions. That when we talk about transgender literature, we can summarize in four questions, just four questions. The very first one is who is speaking? The transgender is speaking through this transgender literature. From what side are they speaking? They are speaking from a marginalized group. Why do they speak? They speak because to have their rights recognized by law. And to whom do they speak? To a world which rejects them and disposes them of humanity. So, transgender literature is like a speaking tree, and these are the four notions which gives them a ground to stand and place their voice. So, As I told you earlier, to note down the years when they were published, when we talk about 2010 and 2012, the rights which they have is because of this NALSA judgment, National Legal Services Authority of India. The judgment was given in 2014. So you can imagine before 2014, whatever the transgender literatures were published, that had already played its role. It had awakened the people. That is the reason the Honorable Supreme Court, Honorable Justice K.S. Radhakrishnan and Honorable Justice A.K. Sikri, they gave a new gender identity to this transgender people as third gender. From Hijra to transgender, they got this gender identity of third gender. And indeed, there were certain citations also, but I will take a quick leap. So, in the judgment, also, you're going to find transgender narratives. So, you can understand the importance. Like, you have transgender narrative of Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, you have transgender narrative of Siddharth Narayan, and you have transgender narrative of Sachin. Uh, this one, Sachin, are transgender. So when the court is supposed to put a transgender narrative in the judgment, in order to support the notion that they should get a gender identity and gender equality and all other rights, you can understand the importance of transgender literature. So very quickly, I'm moving the slides that these are the certain rationale why they should have gender equality rights. Law agrees with them. We have Indian Constitution fundamental rights. We have preamble, NALSA judgment. Then United Nations Agenda 2030, we have sustainable goals. The goal number 5, we talks about gender equality. And further, all these fundamental rights of transgender people, several articles. And again, there was a case related to Navteej Singh Johar and Union of India, which declared Section 377, which we had seen in the earlier slides, as unconstitutional. One of the very, I will take just a single minute. This is practical thing which I found out. Recently, the students, they have Freshers Week for the newcomers. So I found that students were conducting gender swap in the third day of Freshers Week. So what happened in gender swap is the boys had to wear the attire of girls and the girls had to wear the attire of boys. We faculty do not know about it this Fresher Week. So when I contacted one of the students and I asked them, how did you have this idea of having a gender swap kind of thing? So they told, so you remember you used to give presentation assignment for internal assessment and you had given transgender rights, then gender equality about man and woman and all. So from that moment, we were quite aware of all these things happening around. So we thought, why not we take up this kind of initiative? It will be fun also and we'll be experiencing a different thing also. So initially, the thing which I took up, like I gave them the topic so that they could get familiar with all these things. It paved in this way that they themselves had done this kind of uh, activity and they understood. They try to dilute the margin between the two sexes, and definitely it will be helpful to the transgenders as well. So, without taking much time, I would like to just quote the last line that this transgender used to face Agni Pariksha since long. But with the advent of the judgment by the law, by the Honorable Supreme Court, with the coming of the Act of the Protection of Rights of the Transgender 2019, and very specifically the transgender literature and other activists and other literature existing in the world, taking examples from the equality things happening around, I believe now the periphery is increasing. They are being included in the ambit of gender equality and gender identity. So these are the references, and sorry for taking so much of time. Uh, I put a stay over my lines. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful lessons. You have beautifully located the lives of third gender. during the ancient India and India under British rules, and even today, and how their lives have been and have been changing and kept on changing. Now this session is open for question answer sessions. If anyone has any questions, can unmute mic and ask questions here, or put questions in chat box. Ma'am, there is no question in chat box.
I just
wanted to give my input on this. Can I?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
First of all, congratulations, Anil, for your
All your
wonderful
blessings, ma'am.
critical insights. And you have shown, and we are proud of you. You have taken a very good topic. And as far as the periphery is expanding, you say, you can further expand it by including bisexuality and pansexualism, and so many 11 types of sexuality are there. But your focus on transgender, that's why you have not included, but further you can, and other scholars can also go on that, because a lot of researchers are going on. So I did enjoy, and really proud of you. Congratulations once again. I won't take much time.
Your blessings, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Your background of law also helped a lot. And let me tell for the benefit of all the participants, here is a student who excels in whichever branch he enters or discipline he takes up. He has topped in science when he was doing BSc. He topped in MA English when he was doing post-graduation. Then he showed his merit also in research. Then law also, he is in merit, and he has qualified NET for both English as well as law. So once again, congratulations and hats off to Anil.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
Okay. So anyway,
Ma'am, can I go ahead? No question on chat box, and so I would like to invite today's chairperson. We have a privilege to having chairpersons, Dr. Kishori ma'am, Dr. Kishori Patel ma'am. She is an assistant professor in English, Government College, Kotri District, Mungeli, Chhattisgarh. She has done her Masters and Masters of Philosophy from Guru Ghasidas Viswavidyalaya, Bilaspur. She has recently completed her PhD from Dr. C.V. Raman University, Kota, Bilaspur. She has 10 years of teaching experience and 9 years of teaching experience in higher secondary school. She has attended and presented papers in many national and international seminars, conferences, and webinars. Apart from this, she has been an active member of ISPEL. I would like to invite you, ma'am. Kishori Patel, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Sunil, for your nice introduction and hearty welcome. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening to all. First of all, I would like to thank respected Dr. G.A. Ghansyam, sir, the founding father of ISPEL, and all the office bearers of ISPEL CG Forum. It's the first experience, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to be the chairperson of today's session. I really appreciate Maji sir for your wonderful and outstanding deliberation in today's topic. The periphery is expanding, relocating gender identity and gender equality in terms of transgender literature. Really, sir, you have done great justice to this topic. I
Thank
think
you
there
so
is
much, ma'am.
no need to add extra regarding the topic. Yet, as the duty of chairperson is assigned to me for today's event, I just like to add something, few sentences here. Sir, you have very elaborately explained about transgenders from legal point of view and literary point of view. You have given examples from our famous epics Mahabharata about Eravan, the son of Arjuna, and Ulupi. Here, one thing I would like to mention, from that incident, there is a temple in uh, Villupuram in Tamil Nadu.
Yes,
Uh, in every month of April and May, in that temple, the kinners, the transgenders, celebrate 18 days festival, and they repeated the story of Lord Krishna and Eravan's marriage and the sacrifice of Eravan there. 18 days festival is celebrated by the transgender there. And another, uh, there is a legend in it is written in some versions of Ramayana that when Sri Ramchandraji, uh, uh, while going to exile of 14 years, many people uh, were following him, and Ramchandraji returned the people with him. But after returning from 14 years of exile, he found the transgenders waiting there. Ramchandra, he pleased with their devotion, granted them a boon that their blessings would always be fruitful. Since then, perhaps they have been giving blessings on auspicious occasions like childbirth and marriage. If we look to the towards the planet Mercury is considered as the transgender or Napunsak planet, and there is something. If there is something wrong in anybody's horoscope, he or she is advised to donate a green sari and bangles to a transgender.
okay.
It is believed that the prayers of transgender can remove the bad times of any person. Uh, if anybody want more money or to become rich, then he or she is advised to take a coin from the transgender to keep it in his or her purse. We all know about it very well. The transgenders are also called Mangalmukhi because they take part only in auspicious works and not in mourning or matam. That's why they are called Mangalmukhi. There is a lot of descriptions, sir. You have also very elaborately described about how they were enjoyed prestigious place in Mughal period, in ancient period. There is a lot of description in our epics also. They were enjoyed a prestigious place. Yet, if, they are not enjoying equal status in our at present. They are not enjoying equal place. So you have beautifully explained about the transgender literature, about the A. Revati, Manavi Bandopadhyay, and Lasmi Narayanti. Really, excellently, there is a call from interruption. If we look at the literature, autobiographies of transgender people are rich source of literature, as their life and struggles are narrated in the first person. It is they who are in search of telling their own strong and shaping the narratives of their lives. The narratives also offer an insight into the discrimination that they have faced from their biological family and the society at large. In the chat box, Consumption has put a message: discrimination is a crime. We all know very well about it. Yet, I think there is discrimination. The transgenders are facing discrimination in our present society. So, if we want to understand the discrimination and challenges that the transgender community faces in our society, there is no better way to do that than reading an autobiography of a trans person. We will have to work for to give them their identity, to give them their equality, and I think there is no need to put extra or to your understanding, sir. Thank you very much, Maji sir, for your wonderful deliberation. You have very elaborately explained about today's topic about transgenders and their identity, about the transgender literature. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, Indrani ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to be the chairperson of today's session.
Thank you, ma'am. And sir, shall we go ahead for certificate presentations or? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, yes. Thank you, Indrani. This certificate is to Dr. Anil Majhi. Thank you very much, sir. Really, your deliberation was very, what I should say, it's very different type of deliberation. And I think in Chhattisgarh Forum, till date, nobody has covered this topic. So in a way, you have, uh, in this way, you have covered, when you have taken up this topic, means on transgender, uh, we have covered almost all the topics in English literature. So thank you very much. And this is a token of appreciation from the ISPIL Chhattisgarh Forum to Dr. Anil Majhi. Sir, please accept this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm quite obliged, and indeed, I should be thankful to iSpell, to Dr. G. A. Ghansham sir, Dr. Kishori Patel ma'am, Dr. Kirti Tiwari ma'am for making me learn things so well and teaching me how to present things in this way, and all other faculty members as I keep on discussing things and all. And a special thanks to Dr. Indrani, Mrs. Indrani Burkar ma'am, because I really appreciate her perseverance out of this. busy schedules and all, she kept on pursuing that. She indeed understood my situation, but she let me have this opportunity. Just I had said, from my normal day-to-day experience of academics to my original place of literature where I can exhibit myself or I can express myself. So overall, I thank each and every team member of Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature, ISPEL, Chhattisgarh Forum, and specifically uh, today's moderator also, uh, for giving a nice introduction as well as making a good ending uh, remarks.
ये ऑनलाइन
So,
मीटिंग चल रहा है तो
Thank you.
ये
Thank
okay,
you.
so
This is, yes, this is for Dr. Kishori Patel uh, for chairing the session. Madam, you have really very nicely summed up the lecture given by Dr. Anil Manji. So this is a token of appreciation from the husband Chhattisgarh Full. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
thank you so much, ma'am. I am really happy and obliged to be a part of this session, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Now, the next one. Next one to Mr. Sunil Kumar. This is a new face. I think first time you are uh, uh, means all the presenters who are here except and Dr. Indrani, everyone is very new. So this is Mr. Sunil Kumar. I think he is a research scholar. So this is a certificate of appreciation for Mr. Sunil Kumar. And please keep up uh, doing this good job continuously for the ISPL CG Forum. And ISPL CG Forum really needs students or research scholars like you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sunil Kumar.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I would like to also thank to Dr. J. Ghanshyam sir and Mrs. Indrani Borkar, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, and thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Maji sir. Thank you, Indrani ma'am, for giving me an opportunity.
thank you so much.
Uh, Very good, Indrani, that you have brought new faces on the platform of ISPEL and indeed with the new insights and the new things are coming up. And when we say the new things are coming up, it doesn't mean that the old things are obsolete. We are combining the new things with the obsolete things and making it much more better, much more brighter, much more wider, much more greater. So that's what is needed. And Sunil, for you, it's the learning kind of an experience wherein you are searching for because even for the people, those who have attended this particular lecture, they can even have a greater insight into these topics because these are the areas wherein we haven't ventured, or these are the areas which are a kind of a taboo kind of an area. These are the areas where we do not want to see or do not want to delve deep into all these things. So when you delve deep into all these things, then only you can understand what really the humanism is. Humanism doesn't relate only with the male and female. Humanism relates beyond that. Humanism relates trans. So that's what the trans is. So trans has the answer for every gender. So when you go above the self, then only you can understand what lies and what is the treasure which is hidden. And that's what we need to analyze, we need to see, we need to visualize and make the people understand. And one thing what we want to keep is empathy. That's it. If empathy is there, then everywhere you will find peace and solace will always be there. So thank you very much, Dr. Anil, for bringing all these
Thank you
things.
so much, sir.
And there is nothing left nil with Anil. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir.